Chapter 4 The Festival of High Sun.
Rising early, the party set out to enjoy the Festival of High Sun. First, the party encountered a strength competition in one of the dockside warehouses. With sets of crates laid out in a line, the contest would be to see who would carry the heaviest across the warehouse floor. 3 of the contestants dropped out early, while Mezzy and 2 others made it to the 7th crate. Only Mezzy was able to heft it across the floor, winning a crate of fine cloth and furs from the warehouse owner.
Continuing down the docks, the party found a warehouse that had been converted into an obstacle course. Mezzy decided to take a break, with Sitara, Akash, and Kasumi participating against a trio of locals. A series of timers were set, with each contestant being timed in their completion of the course. Kasumi went first, unsurprisingly setting the bar very high, with a startlingly quick time. Sitara's time was comparable to the 2 other men who attempted, though everyone agreed that her run was the most stylish. Akash had some difficulty completing the course without the use of his powers, though everyone was very encouraging of his attempt. The last contestant seemed almost certain to beat Kasumi's time, though when their times were finally compared, Kasumi came out ahead. His prize was a highly stylized statue of a monkey carved from a hard wood, with gemstone eyes that seemed to follow one's movement. Further out on the piers, the party got involved in a diving competition. Several boats bobbed out in the harbor, each having lowered a parcel into the bay. The contestants had to swim out to the boats, dive down, and collect one of the packages. The last person to rise to the surface with the package would keep it. Again, the trio competed, with Mezzy watching from the shore. 2 men rose quickly, with one of them not even making it to a parcel. Akash and Sitara surfaced shortly thereafter, leaving Kasumi and another man on the floor of the bay. The 2 remained below long after the other contestants gave in, long enough that the moderators kept checking that both divers were still conscious. Eventually, Kasumi emerged just before the other man. Returning to shore, the victor unwrapped a fine pearl necklace. Insisting that Kasumi deserved a prize as well, the host begrudgingly agreed, with Kasumi having recovered a leather necklace of pearls, each one enclosed between shells. Kasumi, thoroughly impressed that someone had beat him, struck up a conversation with the victor, learning that he worked as a diver. Basir, the diver in question, found himself in amazement upon learning that Kasumi was an accountant. With an uncharacteristically cheery farewell, Kasumi set off with Mezzy to the next competition. Deciding they needed to dry off, Mezzy and Kasumi held an impromptu foot race with a pair of young men on the dock. Quickly and quite unfairly outpacing the men, Kasumi pulled ahead and reached the agreed-upon finish line. Recognizing their handy defeat, Kasumi was gifted with a fine flask full of sweet fruit liquor.
Sitara wandered off in search of other contests. Finding a performance stage, she changed into one of her dancing outfits before submitting herself to the competition. The first contestant was a young woman performing in a sheep scarf dance. While she was very skilled, Sitara noticed twice that she seemed to alter her dance when her scarves became entangled. The second dancer was an acrobat who vaulted himself about the stage with a staff, balancing on it rather impressively. The third performer came forward, a young man holding a length of chain with an open weight on either end. When he struck the weights together, they erupted into flames. Akash, Kasumi, and Mezzy arrived from their prior contests just in time to witness his breathtaking fire dance, which drew shouts of excitement from the crowd and gasps of worry from the stage manager. Both inspired and slightly nervous to follow such a performance, Sitara stepped on stage, completely soaked after having doused herself with a bucket of water, and concluded the set with a passionate and turbulent sword dance. Pirouetting in the puddle she left on the stage, she rained droplets upon the spellbound audience with every swish of her hems, every twirl of her blades, every whip of her hair. When the host called on the crowd to judge, their cheers rose to a peak for both the fire dancer and Sitara. Unable to decide between the two, he declared them both victors, offering them the prize of a sunburst-shaped pendant with an embossing of a pair of arms raised up. The fire dancer, who introduced himself as Shadi, kindly offered it to Sitara, with a proposal of company after the day's festivities were over. As the two were celebrating their successes, a steely voice called out from the audience, to challenge those watching to a true competition of the blade. Like water around stone, the crowd parted for a young woman endowed with a much more imposing presence than her average stature would suggest, touched with a cool and almost exotic allure.
When Kasumi noticed her hand rested upon the hilt of a beautiful Menzokan katana, he was instantly intrigued, and more than a little tempted. Noting that the sword was marked with the Himura family crest, a clan famous for producing highly skilled swordsmen, Kasumi and Akash wondered how she had gotten her hands on such a blade.
Sitara graciously acknowledged that sword dancing and swordplay were indeed different skills, both worthy of the Jin's attention, and encouraged the audience to participate in this new competition. Akash and Mezi stepped forward to accept the challenge, along with several others. Looking to the contenders, the young woman asked what the conditions for victory would be. When Akash declared the contest to the yield, she gave a slight but wicked smile, and accepted.
Determining matches by drawing straws. The first was between a young man and a sailor who had stepped up from the crowd. Starting slowly, the sailor outmatched the young man, forcing a submission. The second contest between a young man's friend and a guard ended quickly with the guard knocking the young man on his rump after a series of rapid attacks. For the third round, Akash and another sailor drew matching straws to the sailor's obvious relief. The two continued as the previous competitors had, exchanging several stinging blows but inflicting no real damage. In the end, Akash was able to get the best of his opponent, drawing a good-natured submission from the sailor. For the fourth match, Mezi and the woman with the katana faced off. Eyeing each other up, Mezi approached with her sword drawn, although the young woman left her sword sheathed. Mezi struck the first blow, a stinging rap to the woman's arm, to which she responded with a lightning draw and strike, slicing Mezi across the chest and drawing blood. Realizing the swordswoman did not intend to pull her blows, the pair continued to match in earnest. Eventually, Mezi was able to gain the upper hand, narrowly avoiding the woman's blows while delivering her own. Seeing the young woman pushing herself through her wounds, Mezi declared that she did not wish to continue the contest. When the swordswoman called on Mezi to submit, she refused and the pair carried on fighting until the woman was barely standing. Despite this, it seemed she intended to press on when a voice called out from the audience. A plainly dressed Menzokan man came forward from the crowd and took the stage. With a look from the young woman, he seemed to recognize that the contest needed to continue, gave a nod, and stepped back. Mezi, not wishing to accidentally kill the young woman, withdrew from the fight. The guard and sailor, having seen the intensity of the swordswoman's focus, withdrew as well, leaving Akash to face her. Watching from the side, Sitara seemed to relax after Mezi's forfeit, though not for long, her brow furrowing as Akash stepped forward. The spectators exchanged nervous looks, all sharing the same question. What would it take for her to stand down?
He approached the bloodied young woman, inquiring what would stop her other than death. Holding her wounds with a grimace, she declared, in a manner that seemed more a solemn vow than a simple answer, that only death would stop her. At that, Akash dropped his blade and took to the sky, revealing himself as a Jinblood. Proclaiming that she embodied some, but not all, of the virtues of her blade, Akash pitied the young woman, before attempting to blast her off the stage with a gust of wind. She braced herself, driving her sword into the stage, but nearly succumbed to the gust until the Menzokan man and Sitara stepped in to support her. Sitara murmured something to the barely conscious swordswoman, and the Menzokan man gave her his thanks before taking his charge away. Akash, admitting he had violated the spirit of the challenge, declared Mezzi the victor of the contest. Aghast at what had transpired, no one dared dispute the declaration. Opting to take a rest from more physical exertions, the party made their way to the Purple Lantern, where they walked in on an informal concert. Sitara recited a Delphic poem which was well received, about intimacy which ebbed and flowed as the tides, about a love like the sea, sometime wild, sometime halcyon. Or perhaps this love was the sea. The young woman whom they often saw performing at the Purple Lantern sang about lost loves, softening even the hardest of hearts in the audience and drawing a tear to every eye.
As they made their way towards the bazaar, the party happened upon a pet race sponsored by the Tenebrous menagerie. Realizing Kanuki was entering his new pet, the party stayed to watch the show. Though Kanuki's pet was far from the quickest, it totally ignored the monkey contestant, which escaped its channel and proceeded to distract the other participating animals. Upon the beast's completion of its obstacle course, Kanuki was rewarded with matching vests for himself and his pet. Pirus offered to have Kanuki's retailored, as it was made assuming someone of a more average stature. Afterwards, Nanako bought a puppy from Pirus to raise for herding livestock on her farm.
Deciding to host a contest of her own, Sitara had arranged for several rafts to be strung loosely together in the harbor. Any and all were invited to try their hand at sparring with sticks atop the rafts. The victor would be the last one, still dry. As a demonstration, Sitara crossed reeds with Jian, unexpectedly dunking the master-at-arms in the harbor. Several bouts followed, with Akash sparring a young child and gallantly allowing himself to be dunked. Kasumi also took a turn with Sitara, though he found himself outmatched by the captain's sea legs and likewise ended up in the harbor.
Making their way to one of the open performance grounds, the party decided to join a large eating and drinking contest hosted by the Gulbahar Winery. While Akash and Kasumi downed cup after cup of fine liquor, Mezzi and Sitara took their turn at devouring pastries. Though they made a strong showing, Mezzi's wounds were too much of a distraction, and the pair were unable to devour the most pastries within the time limit. Across the fairgrounds, Kasumi unsurprisingly drank his way to victory, earning himself a finely crafted gold goblet, ringed with perfectly cut topaz, and a small crown maker's mark inside the bottom rim. Finding other diversions, the party came upon an odd contest, wherein the participants had overripe figs thrown at them. Akash recognized the host as Ismail, the farmer who had sold the party their first cargo of figs. Finding great amusement in throwing figs at the party, and at Akash in particular, Kasumi soon splattered the walls with fruit. When his turn came, Kasumi continued to have the best day he'd had in a long time, managing to dodge until the other contestants had been hit, and was rewarded with some containers of fruit preserves.
Meanwhile, Nanako ran into the man with the monkey from Piru's race. He was searching for his pet, who had taken its leave, to no avail. Offering to pay Nanako if she could return the runaway pet, the bounty hunter soon found herself running hither and thither around the market in pursuit of the elusive and irreverent beast. When she attempted to use her newly purchased puppy to assist in tracking the monkey, Nanako soon found herself led straight to a kebab vendor. This, however, did lure the monkey within catching distance, though it did not come easily or quietly. Finally, she returned the wayward animal to its owner and was rewarded with a small purse.